Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to our first Wonders third grade reading lesson. So we are going to be using our Wonders books for third grade. Here's what they look like. And you may have chosen to go to school and get a hard copy of this book so that you can follow along with us in our reading. And if not, no worries. All of the reading assignments will be online and you can follow along there. So if you didn't get the book, that's fine. If you did get the book, then that's great. But remember to take good care of your books because you will be responsible for any loss or damage. So we always take good care of our books. All right. Let me see if I can present to you our lesson for today. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. All right. So we are looking at Unit 1. So this is the best place to begin. It's with the first unit. So we will start with Unit 1. And our unit theme is growing and learning. So we will be talking for 5 weeks. We will be reading stories that have to do with growing and learning. Our big idea, so the thing we're going to think about when we're reading all of these stories for the next 5 weeks is how can learning help us grow? So learning helps us grow by helping us to become a better person and to know more things. So we have a little poem here by George Samos. It's called The More I Know. The more I know, the more I grow. It's an easy equation to solve if I try. Asking and learning help me understand why. The more I know, the more I want to know. It's an easy equation without a doubt. Wondering and learning help me figure things out. And I think this is very true. The more you know, the more you grow as a person. And the more you know, the more you want to know. Lots of times we find out a little bit about something and then we're interested and we want to learn more and more about it. All right, so let's move on. Okay, we have a short read aloud called Three Pigs, a Wolf, and a Book. And this should sound fairly familiar. I think you've heard a story that's a lot like this. And so we're going to listen to at least part of this and see if we can talk about it.
Three Pigs, a Wolf, and a Book. Once there were three little pigs who each built a neat little house for himself at the edge of deep, dark woods. Abel built his house of straw. Buster built his house of twigs. When Clark saw their houses, he shook his head and said, "This won't do at all." He went right out, bought some bricks, and built a fine, strong house. One day, a big bad wolf showed up at Abel's straw house. He didn't even bother knocking. He puffed out his cheeks and blew it down. Abel ran next door to Buster's house. Wolf saw that the stick house was just as poorly made as the straw house, so he blew it down too. Abel and Buster quickly ran next door to Clark's house. They told him that the big bad wolf was on his way and that he would blow down his house. Clark said, "He can try." He went to his bookshelf and chose a book, How to Scare Away Anything. Clark flipped to the W's near the end of the book. Wolf knocked. "Go away," said Clark as he quickly turned the pages. Wolf began to blow. The house began to shake. Abel and Buster covered their ears and got ready to run. The wolf blew harder and harder. The house rocked from side to side. Finally, Clark found what he was looking for. Pots and pans. Wolves are afraid of pots and pans. Clark, Abel, and Buster grabbed pots and pans and banged them together louder and louder. Clark peeked out the window, to see Wolf holding his ears and howling. Louder, cried Clark. The noise was deafening. With one last howl, Wolf ran from the house and headed back to deep dark woods, never to bother the pigs again.
All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that little story. It should sound very familiar. It's a little twist on the story of the three pigs. Okay, we're going to skip our graphic organizer. Okay, and now we're going to talk a little bit about one technique that you can use when you are reading stories, and that is to visualize. So when you visualize, you are putting pictures in your head or kind of making a movie while you're reading. You're able to see the place that you're reading about, the people that you're reading about, and what's happening in the story. So I know for me, if I read a book and then they make a movie and I go see the movie, never like the movie as much as the book because I've already visualized how everything should look, and it never looks like that in the movie. But if I see the movie first and then I read the book, then my visualization matches up because I've already seen how it looks in the movie, and that's how it will look in my head. So visualizing will help you to understand what you read. So make pictures in your mind of how things look. All right. The next thing we're going to do is talk about the vocabulary words for this week. So each week we will be learning some vocabulary words, and on Friday we will have a vocabulary quiz so that I can see if you have learned the meanings of these words. So we're going to go over each word and what it means, and then we'll look for them when we're reading our story. So let's start with our first word, ache.
Ached. My head ached and hurt when I had a bad cold. Ached. If a part of your body ached, it was hurt or felt sore. My head ached and hurt when I had a bad cold. When has your head ached?
So have you ever had a headache? I know that my head aches when I try to figure out how to do new things on the computer in order to teach you online. So lately I've been having lots of headaches, but hopefully I'll get better at it and we'll have fewer headaches in the future. So ached was our first word. Our next word is concentrate.
Concentrate. Tom can concentrate in the quiet library. Concentrate. When you concentrate, you think very carefully about what you are doing. Tom can concentrate in the quiet library. Name places where you can concentrate.
So think about where you can concentrate. Hopefully you have a quiet place in your home where you can work on your online school and concentrate or think carefully about what you're doing. Okay, our next word is discovery.
Discovery. When a discovery is made, something that was hidden or unknown is found. Matt and June made a fun discovery at the beach. What fun discovery have you made?
Okay, so discovery. Have you ever made a fun discovery? I know that I made a discovery of an anthill in my yard. I discovered that there were lots of red ants in it, and I had to be careful. So it was a good thing I made that discovery so that I didn't step on them and get stung. Okay, our next word is educated.
Educated. An educated person has a great deal of knowledge. Jan went to school to be educated. Why does someone become educated? Educated. Jan went to school to be educated.
So why does someone become educated? Because they want to learn about things. It's not always school that educates you. Sometimes you can be educated by TV shows, movies, talking to people, reading books. There are lots and lots of ways to become educated about lots of different things. Our next vocabulary word is effort.
Effort. Learning to ski takes lots of hard work and effort.
Effort. A person works hard to finish a task that takes effort. Learning to ski takes lots of hard work and effort. Name something else that takes effort.
So most of the things we do take some kind of effort. I know that doing a good job on your schoolwork requires effort. So you have to give effort or hard work in order to do a good job on your assignments. Our next word is improved.
Improved. Sam's soccer skills improved with practice. Improved. When a person has improved, he or she has become better at something. Sam's soccer skills improved with practice. Tell how you improved at doing something.
So when we improve at something, we get better at it. So I think that my skills of using Google Classroom have improved. They still have a ways to go, but they have improved since the first time I tried to do it. So I will keep making lots of effort to improve. See how I snuck that one in there? Okay, our next word is inspired.
Inspired. My grandmother inspired me to learn to knit. Inspired. When you inspire another person, you encourage that person to do something good. My grandmother inspired me to learn to knit. Who has inspired you to try something new?
So what have you been inspired to try? Were you inspired by your parents? Did they do something that you decided you wanted to try? Maybe your mom cooks a great meal and you're inspired to try to cook that meal yourself. Or maybe you watch the Olympics on TV and you're inspired to learn how to do gymnastics like they were doing on TV. So you can find inspiration everywhere. Okay, our next vocabulary word is satisfied.
Satisfied. I am happy and satisfied with the good job I did.
Satisfied. A satisfied person is pleased with the way something happened. I am happy and satisfied with the good job I did. What word means almost the same as satisfied?
So can you think of a word that means almost the same as satisfied? If I am happy with the job I did, then I am satisfied. If I am unhappy, then I am unsatisfied. Okay, and now we are back to the beginning where we started with our word ached. So that is our vocabulary list for this week. As I said, there will be a quiz on Friday. So in order to practice those words, you have attached to this lesson a vocabulary worksheet. Let me stop presenting and show you what that looks like. So here is what your vocabulary worksheet looks like. It has your vocabulary words at the top in a box. And it says to use a word from the box to answer each question, then use the word in a sentence. So let's look at number 1 together. What can you become if you study often? Let's look at our words and see which one answers that question. What can you become if you study often? Is it educated, satisfied, inspired, concentrate, ached, improved, discovery, or effort? That's right, I think it's educated. What can you become if you study often? And the answer would be educated. So we use the word from the box to answer the question. But don't forget, there's a second part. Then use the word in a sentence. So then you're going to write your own sentence using the word educated. For example, I might write, I became educated when I went to college. That would be an example of a sentence. So don't forget to do both parts. You're answering the question and then you are using the word in a sentence. So if you'd like to pause the video now and do that vocabulary sheet, you can, or you can continue with the video and do the vocabulary worksheet at the end. Remember, you can always come back to the video and look at the vocabulary section again. You can also open up your wonders from your waffle and play some of the games that help you to learn the vocabulary there. We'll play some together later in the week. All right, let's move on. And we'll go back to presenting. So here is our vocabulary worksheet. We talked a little bit about visualizing. So we are going to read our story. And while we're doing that, I would like you to visualize what's happening in the story. So you're looking for colorful words, and then you use these words to visualize or form pictures in your mind. So we'll be doing that while we're reading. All right. Our story for the next couple of days is Bruno's new home. So let's read that together.
Genre, fantasy. Bruno's new home.
So the title of our story is Bruno's new home. Our genre is fantasy. Do you remember what genre means? It just means the kind of story or the type of story it is. So this one is a fantasy story, and fantasy is a type of fiction. So this is a story that did not really happen. And because it's fantasy, it is in fact a story that could not really happen. Lots of things will be made up, and things will happen that couldn't happen in real life. Like, for example, here we have a bear wearing a scarf and a hat. And in real life, do bears wear scarves and hats? No. So that's one of our clues that this is a fantasy story. We'll also probably have animals who talk, which does not happen in real life. And fantasy stories often also teach us a lesson. So let's look at our essential question.
Essential question. What can stories teach you? Read how one story taught a bear an important lesson.
All right, so our question we'll be thinking about is, what can stories teach you? And in this story, we're going to see how another story taught this bear an important lesson. So let's read together.
Bruno shivered. A frosty wind blew through the forest. Bright red and orange leaves danced around the trees. His paws felt like blocks of ice. It was almost winter. Bruno needed a warm, safe place to hibernate, and he needed it now. Bruno moved slowly through the woods. He grumbled and growled to himself. Finding a new place to sleep was harder than he thought. Bruno climbed up a small hill. He hiked around a pond and walked on a path. No place was right. Finally, he made an exciting discovery.
Here's this word discovery. That should look familiar. So the words that are highlighted in yellow in the story are your vocabulary words. So he made a discovery, or he found out something new. So he discovered something. We don't know what it is yet, but we will soon. Okay, were you visualizing while we were reading? I know I was. I was visualizing bright red and orange trees, so I knew that it was autumn. And I was visualizing a place that looked chilly, kind of cold, because it said that Bruno's paws were like blocks of ice, so he's very cold. So that I was visualizing how his surroundings looked. Okay, let's move on to the next page.
Bruno spotted a cave in the side of a rocky hill. It was perfect except for one thing. He couldn't fit through the opening. It was blocked with a pile of dirt and tangled roots. Bruno sat down to think. I'll just dig out some of this dirt and make the entrance bigger, he thought. Then I can finally get to sleep. Bruno dug and dug with his huge paws, but the dirt was packed down hard. It took a lot of hard work and effort. He pulled and pulled at the tree roots. The roots were strong and too tough to rip out. Bruno stopped to rest. His paws ached. They were red and sore. Suddenly he heard a loud sound. Crack!
All right, so we see a couple more of our vocabulary words highlighted in yellow: effort and ached. So he's found a spot that looks just right, except he can't fit through the opening because the opening is blocked with a pile of dirt and tangled roots. So did you visualize how that would look? I know I did. Okay, so he's can't seem to get through, and then he hears a loud sound. What do you think that sound is? Let's go on reading and see if we can find out.
Bruno turned quickly and saw a small squirrel eating a nut. He stopped eating and smiled at Bruno. You look like you need help, said the squirrel. Bruno sighed. I have been trying to fit into this cave, but it's hopeless. I've been digging and digging, but I haven't improved the opening at all. I'm Jack, and I can help, said the squirrel. But you are too small, said Bruno. Jack told Bruno to sit down and rest. Bruno sat and yawned as Jack scampered away. A few minutes later, he came back.
All right, so we have another vocabulary word, improved, which means to get better at something. So he had not improved the opening. It was not getting larger. And the squirrel says he can help. Does Bruno think the squirrel can help? Doesn't seem like he does. He says, but you are too small. So Bruno thinks the squirrel is too small to help out. But he tells Bruno to wait and that he'll be right back. Let's see what happens next.
What you need is a book, said Jack. Reading can help you become educated. Books are filled with knowledge. He handed Bruno a thick red book. Bruno moved to a bright, sunny spot. He put on his glasses and tried to concentrate on the story. He paid careful attention to the plot. The story was about a lion and a mouse. The lion thought the mouse was too small to help him. One day, the lion got caught in a net. The mouse chewed the net's ropes and helped the lion escape.
Okay, two more vocabulary words in yellow: educated and concentrate. So Bruno is reading a story. Jack the squirrel brought him a book, and he's reading a story about a lion and a mouse. The lion thought the mouse was too small to help him, just like Bruno thought the squirrel was too small to help him. But in fact, the mouse did help the lion by chewing the net's ropes and helping the lion escape when he got caught in the net. Let's see what happens with Bruno and Jack.
Well, the lion in this story learned an important lesson, said Bruno. I think I did too. The story inspired Bruno. The mouse had sharp teeth, and so did Jack. Jack could help. The new friends made a fine team. Jack chewed through the thick roots, and Bruno dug out the dirt. They worked together all afternoon. Finally, Bruno could fit through the opening. Are you satisfied and happy with your cozy new home? Asked Jack. I sure am, said Bruno. And I learned something too. Good friends come in small packages.
All right, so it was true. Jack could help Bruno by chewing through the tangled roots, and they were a good team and were able to make the opening larger so that Bruno could fit into the cave.
Make connections. Talk about the story of the lion and the mouse. How did it help Bruno solve his problem? Discuss how you and your friends help one another.
Okay, so when Bruno read the story, I think it made him realize that he was in a similar situation. He needed help, but he only had a small friend that he thought wouldn't be able to help. But then he learned that the mouse was able to help the lion and realized that Jack the squirrel would be able to help him. And you and your friends help each other out in many ways every day. So think about how you and your friends help one another, and we'll talk about that during our next meet. Okay, we're going to talk one more time about visualizing. So we looked for colorful words, and on page 23, Bruno shivered. A frosty wind blew through the forest. His paws felt like blocks of ice. From these details, you can figure out that Bruno feels very cold and he needs to find a warm home so he can hibernate. Okay, let me stop presenting and come back to you. All right, so that is the end of our story for today and our reading lesson for today. So you have your vocabulary worksheet to complete. You also have a phonics sheet to complete. There is a video that explains this phonics sheet, and you'll be working on the short A sound and the short I sound. Then there is also a video talking about the grammar lesson, which is sentences and sentence fragments. So a complete sentence shows a complete thought, while a sentence fragment is just a piece of a sentence that does not show a complete thought. And you are going to fill out that worksheet. The last thing you're going to do for your reading lesson today is to complete this sheet that says Bruno's new home at the top. How did the story of the lion and the mouse help Bruno solve his problem? Fill out the table below, then write your paragraph. So here you're going to use these boxes to help organize your thoughts. In the first box, you're going to write down Bruno's problem. So what was Bruno's problem? Was his problem that he needed a place to hibernate and he couldn't fit in the opening for the cave? Then how did he try to solve his problem? What did he do? Did he dig and dig and dig? And then how did the story help Bruno to solve his problem? So when he read the story about the lion and the mouse, how did that help him to understand that Jack the squirrel would be able to help him to make his opening large enough for him to fit through? So you're going to fill these out to make your thoughts, and then you're going to write a paragraph that answers the question, how did the story of the lion and the mouse help Bruno to solve his problem? Okay. Remember to turn in your work when you're finished, and the text boxes have been provided for you to type right on to the worksheet. So I hope you enjoyed the Bruno's New Home story. I know I did, and we will talk about that story a little bit more tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks. Bye.